Hi yogis. So I want to talk about a sequence that's pretty easy, very accessible. You do need props to help you alleviate lower back pain and lower back strain. That's one of the most common complaints that I get from different practitioners, that their lower back gets sore, and these are some 4 easy poses that you can do to help you release it. Okay, so Fitzjoy is going to be my model. And we're going to start in Supta Padum Gustavson. So we're going to lie down and we'll need 2 straps. So let's say if you're traveling, like we just took a long drive up to Sequoia, his back was hurting, so I gave him some of these poses. Or if you're working a lot, so many of us are at the computer, this is a great way to unwind. Just lying down on your back, resting the knees together, and putting your hands in your lower belly. Okay, so this helps the tailbone to lengthen and it helps the sacrum to spread. All right, so stay here as long as you like, and then we're going to take Supta Padum Gustavson. So you're going to have 2 straps, and the straps are really wide. If you only have 1 strap, okay, this will be where the 1 strap will go, and then you can use a scarf or a belt for the other. Okay, now go ahead, Fitzjoy, lift your right leg up. And so I take the strap and I put it on his upper thigh, and then straighten your left foot down to the floor, and I take the strap and I put it on the ball of his left foot. Okay, now ideally I'm teaching him, so I have the buckle and I can adjust, but if you like, you can move the buckle so you can actually pull the strap to make it tighter. Okay, and then we'll just take the second strap and loop it around the foot. Now if the second strap is big enough, you can also put it around your upper back like a top. And in this way, and you have to make the strap really broad, so this way you don't have to use any muscular effort. Now the benefit of using the strap around the legs is a lot of times, or you could put it on your neck or your head, okay? So a lot of times when we're lifting the leg, the hip hikes up. And what that does is it creates an asymmetry in the pelvis. And this has a lot to do with the psoas. Many of us, our psoas is more dominant on one side, so this creates strain in the lower back. So Supta Padum Gustavson, it creates traction. So as he pushes his left foot away from his body, and when I give this adjustment, you can see what I'm doing. I'm pulling the skin of his outer right hip down. So it may feel like it's taking you out of the stretch, but it's actually helping your sitting bones to stay level and the sacrum to stay flat. And one more thing, when the leg is up, notice if the right part of your sacrum gets light. And sometimes we kind of lean over to the left side. So this thigh bone is descending, it's moving down, and you want to use the floor as a way to gauge the sacrum, keeping the sacrum level. The sacrum, ideally, when we move our legs, it shouldn't move so much, okay? It's a joint that helps to stabilize. All right, so also we're creating a stretch in the hamstrings, which is useful because of the buttock bones. Hamstrings attached to the buttock bones, and a lot of times when the hamstrings are tight, this can definitely pull on the SI joint. All right, so how's that around your neck? Is that okay? And you can even put it around your head too, and it creates a little harness for your, there you go. It creates a harness for your neck. Okay? All right, now, to come out of this, it's actually quite easy. So just bend your right leg, and just put the strap down here. Now your right foot slides into the strap and the ball of the foot stays there, and then Fitz, lift your left leg up, and we put the strap, bend your right leg a little bit, good, around the left thigh. Okay, so you don't have to do too much. All right, and then he straightens the left leg. I'm going to make some adjustments here and pull the strap up to the ball of the foot so he can push the ball of the foot away to draw the left thigh down. And he's going to put the strap, yeah, and you know, he has a long torso, so he needs a very long strap to put this on his upper back so the head works great. And then you can really lean your head back. So this idea of creating traction, another thing you could do when you have lower back pain is an inversion table. An inversion table is great because it reverses the effects of gravity. Gravity actually pulls on our spine and it makes the joints compressed. And that's part of the reason why we feel so tired at the end of the day. Inversions, backbends, twists are so energizing because they help to create more space along the vertebrae and the intervertebral disc, okay? And that's what we're doing in the yoga practice, in the yoga asana, is we're creating more space in our joints so there's more freedom and there's more space in our bodies as we move, okay? All right, now, once again, keep the left thigh moving away from your abdomen. Let the head be heavy. And as this thigh bone descends and the left hip, it should be on the floor. Right now, his hip is off the floor. There you go. Try to put the hip on the floor and keep this upper inner thigh rolling down. So these little tiny details, they make such a difference. And as the hips become more compact and the sitting bones become level, and that's what I'm looking at as a teacher, especially in these asymmetrical postures, if the sitting bones are level, then the sacrum, which is that bony triangular bone at the base of the pelvis, can fit really nicely, and we can honor the curve of the lower back and the sacrum. Okay, so keep moving the thigh bone back. Yeah, and then softening the belly. And then when the thigh bone is descending in the hip, the abdomen moves back, and then the psoas can release the grip. Okay, so if we're, tight in the hip flexors, a lot of times all the movement we do, it actually comes from the hip flexors and the psoas, and that's a candidate to lower back strain. Okay, all right, so we're going to move on. So go ahead and exhale, release, and take the straps off. Good, and I'm going to take this strap off, and then hug your knees into your chest. Okay, all right, now Fitzjoy, roll over to your right side and come into downward facing dog. All right, so downward dog is a really great pose for lengthening the back. Now, if your hamstrings are tight, you can see he has a hard time getting his heels to the floor, and so this part of his back, it needs to lift a little bit more. Right now this is too rounded. So I'm actually going to take a support and put the support under his heels. Okay, and now he has something to press into, which anchors his legs more. And then as the heels sink down, lift your toes up too, he can get more of a stretch in the whole back of the leg. And then he can lift his buttock bones up. Okay? All right, so I'm going to demo for a moment. Now, on my body, and I'm a candidate for back pain as well too, I have a very bendy lower back. So I may not need the bolster. However, if I'm flailing, do you see how my tailbone is up? Then all of a sudden my sacrum jams into the back. So by me using the bolster, okay, I actually have to root the buttock bones to the heels. And at the same time, you can go back to your bolster. And at the same time, lift my frontal hip bones, okay? So go ahead, just a few more breaths in downward dog. So pretty much, really depending on our body type, all of us have different instruction, okay? So this is why self-practice is so important, because understanding our body can help us really manage the poses in a way that help us alleviate pain. Okay, good. So keep pressing, not the knees, but where the strap was. You're trying to take the top of the thigh bone straight back. Okay, and not so much with him. He doesn't have a lot of forward and backward movement like I do. But if you're very bendy there, you want to keep the front part of the pelvis lifted. So there's that separation between the thigh bones moving back and the front part of the pelvis lifting. Good, and then exhale, release. Okay, nice. So go ahead and come down to your knees. All right, now turn around and lie on your back. Okay, so now we're going to get more into the psoas. Bridge pose is a fantastic pose, and I'm going to put the bolster right here. So walk your feet in a little Fitz. Okay, and once again, this is more of a 20-minute wind down, especially after you've done something strenuous. So we're going to do bridge pose supported to release the front hips in that psoas hip flexor region. So inhale, lift your hips. And take the block. I like to do the block long like this because I feel like it goes into the circumference of my sacrum. Some of you could turn the block a little lower if you need. So I'm going to give this to him, and he's going to put the block under. And then roll your shoulders under. All right, so what the block does is it helps to lengthen the base of the sacrum region. It moves the tailbone into the body. And try to stay on the insides of the feet. So you can begin to lengthen these hip flexor region. When the hip flexors get tight, it pulls the pelvis forward, and that's what creates that compression. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple different variations. You're welcome to stay here the whole time. If this is a lot, know when to come out of the pose. You can turn the block lower whenever you need. Okay? All right, so the first variation is to just bend your right knee into your chest. Good. And you don't have to use your hands. All right. And then straighten the right leg up to the sky. And just like Supta Padam Gustavson, notice if you're leaning to the left, so try to keep the sacrum on the block. So the heel will be over the sit bone. All right, now the second stage is to straighten the left leg and put the left foot, let's put it on the bolster. And if you're a little tight in that area, you may want to actually even have a chair here. Now the benefit of this with the leg straight, like we did with the strap, you can press the top of the left thigh down. Good. And if your hamstrings are tight, you can also just keep this right knee bent. But when we move the legs asymmetrical, we're able to really observe any imbalances in the pelvis. Right? And then specifically what really lengthens the psoas is to roll that upper inner thigh down to the floor. Okay. And then let's go ahead and switch sides. Put both feet on the floor. And then just bend your knees, feet down. And then bring your left knee in. Try to keep the sacrum level. Straighten the leg. If the hamstrings are super tight, keep the knee bent. And put your right foot on the bolster. Good. And then flex the foot and roll this upper inner thigh down. And you can see when I'm rolling this upper inner thigh down, it's actually pulling that outer left hip in. Okay, so we want the abdomen to be soft. Good. And so for some of us, if the psoas is tight, it may pull your pelvis forward, but it also may pull one hip higher than the other. Okay, and the practice of yoga helps us really understand how our body works and how we can manage any discomfort in our physical body. Okay, I mean, ideally our bodies are meant to feel amazing, and that's what helps the mind to stay positive. All right, so go ahead and put both feet on the floor. Bend your knees. You can stay longer. And then go ahead and lift your hips. So his block is all the way flat, but before you come out, relax your buttocks. Turn the block flat to the way he has it. And then pause here for a moment. Good. And then inhale, lift again. And then, okay, so go ahead and turn it flat. I couldn't see the block. And then lift again. Good. And then exhale, release. All right, now hug both knees into your chest. Good. And I often find hip opening because of the piriformis that intersects the sacrum. Okay, the sacrum really affects the hips, and the hips affect the lower back. So go ahead and put your feet back on the floor, and then take your right ankle over your left knee like this. So the external rotation. All right, now when he does that, put your right hand on this inner leg and gently open. So like Supta Padam Gustavson, we're trying to get the sitting bones to level. So when he does that, that right sitting bone pulls to the left sitting bone. And then take your left leg up and thread the needle. Good. All right, and bring your hand in between the space. Now, if you're at a wall, and I'm going to pretend I'm a wall, bend your left leg, and you can put your left foot at the wall. And in this way, just like Supta Padam Gustavson, you can release your hands, Fitzjoy, and just relax. So this passive stretching is important because the nervous system can unwind. A lot of times we get pain in our body, especially in our lower back, from tension, from anxiety. So when we're lying on the floor and we're relaxed and we're taking a passive stretch, it helps the anxiety and the tension subside, and the system moves into the healing state. And this is where we can really do some repair on our physical body. Okay, so even though I'm giving him a little pull with his left leg, his inner right leg is opening up. He's trying to keep those sitting bones level. All right, good. And then put both feet on the floor and just come back to constructive rest and switch sides. So take your left leg over and put your hand on the inner knee and open it up. Yeah, so he's not pushing the knee down, he's rolling. That's external rotation. You're rolling the inner leg to the outer leg so that the sitting bones get level. All right, and then go ahead and pick up your right leg. Thread the needle to start. Good. Now, if you're at a wall, flex your foot, or if you have a partner, have them stand right here, and I could just lean in. Okay, and how's that feel? Good. And you can see his left hip is tighter, and his pelvis is a little twisted and elevated on one side, and that's what's creating that tightness here. Okay, so maybe spending a little bit more, a little longer time on the side that is tight, okay, or challenged. keep your heel flexed. So there's a connection between flexing your heels, spreading your toes, and really waking up the fascia trains that run throughout the leg up into the back. Okay, and just keeping your head on the floor, let the head be heavy. Take a few long breaths. Okay, so I want this practice to feel easy, and so you're encouraged to do it. It's really important to wind our bodies down. Just like we start the car on a cold morning, it takes time. We need the same thing when we're winding our day down. Okay, we need to, you know, at least take 20 minutes for the system to move into that PNS, that parasympathetic nervous state. And then go ahead, exhale, release. Okay, now hug both knees into your chest. I'll be right back. And Fitz, go ahead and take happy baby. Okay, so happy baby, you know, especially if your hamstrings are tight, for those of you that bend forward in Paschimottanasana, that can actually be a little challenging at times. So happy baby, try to keep the hips on the floor, just to get one last hamstring lower back stretch. Okay, now we're going to end in Viparita Karani. We only have a tree, so I'm going to use a chair and a bolster. And at home, you can do this with your legs at the wall, okay? All right, now at home, if you're doing this with the legs at the wall, the bolster goes on the lower back, but your buttocks are hanging over. And this is also a really nice variation on the chair. So go ahead, Fitz. Put your knees on the bolster, and you can have your legs a little wide if you like. And how does that feel? Good. Yeah, and so part of the reason why I have the bolster here is because he's tall, and you want to feel, first of all, the back of the knees touch the bolster. And you want to feel that dropping of the thigh bone so the hip flexors can relax. Yeah. And so he's pulling it, he's making adjustments. So it fits his body perfectly. And then he can close his eyes, take a couple long exhales. Good. And I encourage you to stay here for 10 minutes, okay, if you have the time. And just feel that weightlessness of the legs. Part of the reason why we have a lot of lower back pain is because our legs are not really helping to support the spine. And something that we learn in yoga is how to use our legs to support our spine and to support the torso. So right now, just giving them a break. Okay, I hope this helped. I have many other sequences and classes on my YouTube page, Joan Hyman. And if you have any questions or comments, leave it in the boxes below. Namaste. Thank you. Thanks, Fitz.
Namaste.
Mm-hmm.